Okay, boxing fans, I'm doing my prediction for Billy Joe Saunders versus Nick Blackwell. This is my prediction, starting with Billy Joe Saunders. He's 15 fights undefeated, 10 of which by way of knockout, against Nick Blackwell. 12 wins, 6 of which by way of knockout, to a single defeat by way of knockout. Getting straight into the advantages and what each fighter brings to the table. I'm just going to quickly go through this one because this is a domestic level fight and I've got a lot to do today and I've got to go to work too. So looking at the power, and this is something that Saunders really does have in his corner. You know, he's got very decent power. He has stopped the vast majority of his opponents early, with 10 of his fights ending by way of knockout before the third round. It doesn't seem in the rest of the fights that his power really carries late. However, that being said, a lot of the time if you've watched any of his fights, you'll notice some of his opponents aren't there to fight, some of them are there just to survive. I mean, for example, I think it was the last unanimous decision that he had on his resume before this fight, right? I think his opponent didn't even try and win that fight, he just tried to be very elusive, very back foot. He wasn't trying to win the fight, put it like that. So that's always something to think about when you're judging them on their knockouts and their knockout percentages. It's how many of these guys are coming to win and are putting up the chance of, you know, losing the fight. I mean, bit off topic, but yesterday I was on Football Manager and my team was Spain. You know, I was doing Spain, yeah, and I was playing Puerto Rico. You know, Puerto Rico in America, and I almost got twatted. Well, I didn't get twatted. They just played like Stoke. I couldn't break them down. I just could not break them down. I had so many shots. I had like 25 shots, 12 of which on target. The keeper had a blinder. Yeah, you know, I ended up winning 1-0, scraping a 1-0, and afterwards the media crucified me. So it's not always about what the big name does in the fight, which is Billy Joe Saunders. It's sometimes about how willing to fight Blackwell was. And last time Blackwell in his last big fight was willing to fight. He's always looks like he's willing to fight. So if he comes out to fight, you know, it should be a really good fight, and we'll be looking at a good fight. Going back to Billy Joe Saunders' power, and you know, a lot of the fights that he's obviously had knockouts, they're all domestic level opposition, but that's fine because he's rated at domestic level right now. It's all about who you're fighting right now, how you're moving up, and enjoying the journey on the way. Something else that really enhances Billy's power is that he's got great accuracy and good timing. Not a lot of people have that. A lot of people, sometimes you get guys with huge knockout, you know, fists, but they can't put the punches together. They don't have the good timing, and they end up missing like horribly. This isn't the case with him. He's got very good timing, and his accuracy is very, very impressive in my opinion. He doesn't have the natural finishing ability or that natural killer instinct that some people do, but he does throw a lot of shots. You can tell that he's getting it taught to him. He can overwhelm his opposition when they're hurt. Something to really think about. The opposite side of the coin, you've got Nick Blackwell, who looking at his power, he's not a huge puncher by any means. You know, he could easily make 154 pounds, I think, instead of 160, which would be brilliant. But at 160 pounds, he's got very, very fast hand speed, and that's something that is his biggest advantage in this fight, because I don't think there's a 160 pound fighter domestically that has better hand speed than Nick Blackwell. I would probably say that as well about European level and maybe world level. No one has got at 160 pounds the hand speed of Nick Blackwell. That being said, I don't see Nick Blackwell beating any of them because he's not got any of the attributes that all the rest have. Moving on towards their boxing ability, and what underpins Saunders' whole boxing ability is that he has got also very underrated hand speed. You know, he's got a very accurate jab, good timing with it. He's naturally heavy-handed, which makes him a danger to anyone. You know, he's a very well-rounded boxer puncher at domestic level right now. But you can see they're going to move this guy up, and because they started him really young, you know, they've got time on their hands, and within 2 or 3 years, you know, they could be looking at someone who's getting ready to fight for a world championship. So it's worth thinking about. The problem with Blackwell is that his boxing ability is based around his speed alone. He doesn't have great power, like I said. His boxing skills are decent for domestic level, and he's probably I think he's better than the likes of the English level. But when he moves up to the the British scene, he just doesn't have the pop in his punches to deal with the bigger guys at 160 pounds. Like I said, I would like to see him move down to 154. See if he's got more pop in his punches there, which he might do. You don't know. But right now he cannot deal with the bigger guys. He cannot deal with pressure, and he cannot deal with power punches to the body, especially. So going straight into my prediction, and this is a very good fight, a very good defense for Saunders. I think he wins this fight by way of knockout, and then from there, he can really go on and make some really good fights. There's good fights out there for him. The likes of Kerry Hope could be an interesting fight for him. There's also other guys that he could fight for the Commonwealth title, but he could also move up to European level if he fancies that instead. Well, I think they'll keep him 2 or 3 more fights, maybe 2 more fights, domestic level, beat a few more guys, and then that's what I'm talking about. Move him up.